I never thought my own daughter-in-law would humiliate me in front of thousands of strangers. But that's exactly what happened one quiet Thursday afternoon. I had just finished scrubbing the floors and brewing myself a cup of cinnamon coffee when my phone buzzed with a notification. I'm not one of those older women who can't handle technology. My granddaughter Kyla showed me how to use TikTok for recipes and funny cat clips. But what I saw that day wasn't funny. It was my own kitchen. Jasmine, my daughter-in-law, appeared on screen in the pink blouse I'd given her for her birthday. With her sugary voice, she looked into the camera and said, "You know what's great about having a mother-in-law? You don't have to lift a finger around the house. She does everything. I mean, what else is she gonna do, watch TV all day?" The camera shifted. There I was, from behind, in my yellow floral apron, wiping the counters. The comments came fast. "That's what grandmas are for. Let the old folks work." My heart cracked quietly, like porcelain dropped on the floor. By the time I closed the app, her video already had over 60,000 likes. My life, my work, my dignity turned into a joke. Later that evening, I heard laughter from their bedroom. Jasmine was showing my son Ethan the video. He chuckled and said, "You're right, babe. Mom's old now, what else can she do?" I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply smiled, though something inside me turned to steel. That's when I understood. I had mistaken love for silence. I had made myself invisible by being too giving, too patient, too willing. But that day, something inside me woke up. I wasn't just an old woman. I was Ruth Mae Jakes, the woman who built this home with her bare hands. Jasmine had no idea who she was mocking. I turned off my phone, set down my cup, and began to plan. Because if life had taught me anything, it's that quiet women aren't weak, we're just waiting for the right moment to strike. She thought she had made me her content. What she didn't know was that she had just become mine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake in the smallest room of the house, the one I'd given up so my son and his wife could have the master bedroom I'd once shared with my late husband. The ceiling looked back at me like an old friend, and I realized I'd given away more than just space. I'd given away myself. At 4 a.m, my body woke out of habit. I pulled on my faded robe and stepped into the backyard. The air was cool and smelled faintly of lemons from the tree I'd planted when Ethan was 5. Sitting on the cold concrete bench beneath it, memories came like old neighbors, uninvited but familiar. I was 28 when I bought this house. Richard, my husband, had just passed from stomach cancer. He was gone in 4 months, leaving me with a 3-year-old boy and a world that didn't think much of widows. Everyone told me to sell, to move back home, to find a man to take care of me. I just smiled and thought, I'll take care of myself. I worked 2 jobs. Sewing pockets at the denim factory from dawn to mid-afternoon, and cleaning office buildings at night. Ethan would sit in the corner with crayons while I mopped floors and emptied trash cans. I slept maybe 4 hours a night, but I was saving every penny tucked inside a metal box under my bed. 5 years later, that box became the down payment for this house. It wasn't much, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, walls full of cracks, but it was mine. I tiled the floors myself, patched the roof, and painted the walls a cheerful yellow to make the sunlight feel like company. When Ethan turned 8, I handed him the keys and said, "We're home." Over the years, I added a yard, planted flowers, and turned this patch of earth into something that breathed. This house carried my sweat in its bricks and my hope in its walls. So when Jasmine laughed at me online, calling it her home, saying it was my duty to clean it, she wasn't mocking just a woman. She was mocking a lifetime of survival. The lemon tree rustled that dawn, and I whispered to it like an oath, "They've forgotten who this place belongs to. Time to remind them." By sunrise, my plan wasn't just forming, it was blooming, fierce and alive, right under that lemon tree. By the time the sun rose, my hands had stopped shaking. I brewed another pot of coffee and laid out breakfast, smothered pork chops, grits, and fresh orange juice. The table looked like any other morning, but my heart knew today would be different. Jasmine came downstairs first, still in her silk pajamas, scrolling on her phone like the world revolved around her. "Morning, mother-in-law," she sang. That tone, sweet on the surface, sour underneath. I didn't answer right away. I poured coffee into her favorite mug, the one she never lets anyone else use, and said quietly, "Jasmine, we need to talk." She barely looked up. "Sure, what's up?" "I saw your video." The silence that followed was heavy enough to press against the walls. Her hand froze midair. She blinked twice before letting out a nervous laugh. "Oh, that? It was just a joke. People know I'm kidding. 63,000 people laughing at me isn't a joke," I replied. Before she could answer, Ethan came down the stairs, still groggy. "What's going on?" "Your mother's upset about a TikTok," Jasmine said quickly, putting on that victim voice she wore like perfume. Ethan frowned, looking at me with mild concern. "Mom, it's just a video. You're overreacting." Overreacting. That word hit me like a slap. My son, the boy I raised alone, the man I worked my fingers raw to support, was siding with her. I stood. "You filmed me in my own house without permission. You mocked me, and you called it entertainment." "Mom," he said softly, scratching his neck, "Jasmine didn't mean any harm. We all live here together. She helps with bills. We're contributing, too." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You pay utilities for my house, Ethan. The house I bought. The house your father never got to see finished because he died before I could afford it. Every brick, every tile, you're standing in my work." Jasmine crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said evenly. "I'm being factual." For the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Ethan looked at the floor, ashamed but silent. "I've spent years keeping this family together," I said finally. "But starting today, I'm done being invisible." I took off my apron, folded it neatly, and laid it on the table. "You both taught me something yesterday. Respect isn't given, it's earned. And I've earned more than this." They thought the conversation was over, but the battle for my home had only just begun. 3 days passed after that breakfast. I cooked, cleaned, and smiled as if nothing had changed, but inside, everything had. I was no longer the quiet old woman who let people step over her. I was watching, listening, and waiting. One night, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs for a glass of water and heard Jasmine's voice coming from the backyard. I froze. She was on the phone. "No, Mom," she said, her voice low. "Not yet. The old lady's tougher than I thought, but it's fine. Once she dies, the house passes to Ethan automatically. He's her only kid. That's how inheritance works." My breath caught in my chest. She kept talking about how the house was worth nearly $500,000, about how they could sell it for something better, about how the old woman didn't have long anyway. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the glass. But then I realized my phone, resting in my robe pocket, had started recording when I pressed it by accident, or maybe by fate. I had captured every word. That recording became my weapon. The next morning, I went to see my oldest friend, Azure, a retired attorney who had fought tougher battles than most men I'd ever known. She listened, played the audio, and her eyes hardened. "We'll fix this," she said. "We'll make sure she never touches what's yours." By the end of the week, with Azure's help and my nephew Leo's legal mind, we had everything prepared: a living trust that locked my home under my name forever, new locks on the doors, and a legal inventory of every item in the house. When Ethan and Jasmine left for a weekend trip, I moved everything they owned into a storage unit. Clothes, furniture, electronics, all neatly packed and photographed. I cleaned the house from corner to corner and sat in my navy blue armchair, surrounded by the home I had reclaimed. When they came back Monday afternoon, their keys didn't work. I opened the door, calm and composed. "The locks have been changed," I said. "Everything that's yours is in storage. This house is mine again." They stared in disbelief. Jasmine tried to argue, but I pressed play on my phone. Her recorded words filled the room. Ethan's face turned white. Jasmine's turned red. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I had proof, law, and truth on my side. That day, I didn't just reclaim my home. I reclaimed my self-respect, my voice, my peace. And when Jasmine left, head bowed and silent, I sat back in my chair, sipping my coffee, whispering to the house I built. "We're safe now." She thought she'd buried me under her laughter, but I was only planting the seeds of my own comeback. And that's how I took back not just my house, but my dignity. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people remember. No matter how old you are, it's never too late to stand up for yourself.